I do not have a green thumb. The past few years, have tried to start a garden in my backyard, and it almost always ends up overrun with weeds. Or one year, all of my cucumbers ended up just eating everything else in my garden. I had no less than 50 cucumbers that year. And then the next year, I wasn't able to grow anything. Then the next year, I tried to grow things from plants, and I maybe had a couple of jalapenos. But for the most part, every year, my garden has turned into a big flop. I really wish I could garden. I really want to learn how to garden. And so this year we're going to try again. We're going to do some raised beds, and we're going to we've planted some fruit trees. We've got some blueberry bushes that maybe will give us some blueberries this year. We've got a blackberry bush. We're trying. But my guest today took the idea of a garden in her backyard and decided that she no longer wanted to just feed her family. She wanted to feed her entire community on the south side of Chicago. And what was once a small little idea that she had is now a full-fledged dream that she is pursuing. Welcome to Business with Purpose. I'm your host, Molly Stillman of Still Being Molly, and this show is all about bringing you the stories behind the brands, companies, and small businesses that are changing the world. Each week, I interview an entrepreneur, a CEO, a nonprofit director, a community leader, or just an incredible person who is trying to make a positive impact, not only through their personal life, but also with their professional career. My goal is to show you that no matter what you do for a living, no matter what you do for a career, you can make an impact right where you are. My guest this week is Natasha Nicholes, blogger over at Houseful of Nichols and the creator of We Sow, We Grow, a community garden that is turning into a full-blown urban farm on the south side of Chicago. Natasha is just an incredible human being. We met a few years ago in person, and I have just loved her ever since. And her story of We Sow, We Grow and the way she is using her platform of her blog to impact her community and others around her is absolutely incredible. You're going to love this conversation. You're going to laugh so hard because Natasha is hilarious. So without further ado, on to my conversation with Natasha. Natasha, I could not be more excited to have you on my podcast because you are legitimately one of my favorite people in the world, and we only met in person one time. And so the fact that I love you this much, and I've only met you in person one time, and we've just had this internet friendship for the last 4 years, that just says a lot about who you are.
Oh, thank you.
Well, I also want to just start off with a little bit of a story as to how we know each other, because it's a very unique situation that
Super unique, yes.
that a few of us bloggers. So backstory. So I guess it was 2000. What? It was 2015 or May of 2015.
Yes.
We a bunch of bloggers. We're all moms. We got invited to Hollywood. And we did not know. When I look back at the kind of the craziness of this, basically we all got reached out to, and they're like, there's this thing that we will pay you to come to Hollywood to do, but we're not going to tell you anything about it. And so now that I look back, I'm like, why did I say yes to this? But we all just went.
We did, and we could have gotten our kidneys taken.
We really could have. So we get this email that they're like, it's this thing in Hollywood. It's super secret. Here's an NDA. I didn't even know what I was really signing. And then we all ended up on a plane. And then we go to the historic Roosevelt Hotel. It was the Roosevelt, right? That's what it's called?
Correct.
Yeah,
yep.
Right across from the Chinese theater. And so we all arrived to this hotel, and we're by the pool. And that was when you and I were sat by the pool, and we had appetizers together. And I just remember hearing you tell stories, and I was like, this girl is amazing. I love her. And we all kind of sat there going do you know why we're here? We don't know why we're here. And long story short, it ended up being this kind of, they called it Mom Fronts, and it was hopefully going to be a kind of think tank of moms where we would get pitched show ideas. How would you explain it?
That's about the easiest way to explain it. We were supposed to be the sounding board for network executives and producers to come and see if their content was going to be family friendly.
Yes. Actually, you know what? And wasn't there, there was one of the shows that was pitched to us, ended up getting made. And I can't remember.
The toy, there was a toy thing where the kids were
Like inventing toys.
Yeah, it was like Shark Tank but for toys specifically.
Yes, yeah, they ended up making it, but I just remember none of us really knew what this was, and then there was like a girl who had worked with Ben Affleck came and talked to us, and then it was just such an interesting experience. But then they kind of went radio silent on us, and then
we got that email saying, "Hey, yeah, we no longer need your services. Thanks for participating. Bye."
Yeah, and all of us were like, "Cool, all right." But the best part about it is so we're in Hollywood staying at this hotel. All of us are like, some of us know each other. We kind of know each other from the internet. And then that night they take us to this super secret party at some major mansion in Hollywood, in the Hollywood Hills. And then we find out it was like Lionel Richie's house at one point.
Yeah. It used to be Lionel Richie's house, and it was amazing. It was just, I don't know. It also let me know that I will never, ever have the energy to live in Hollywood, ever.
No way. Yeah, I definitely could not do it. But I just remember being there at this party, and we could not take pictures. We could we could take pictures. We couldn't share them. And so all of us, all these content creators are at this amazing house in Hollywood Hills, and none of us could share it. It was a true like test of our like willpower.
The influencer hearts, yes. You know, because we love sharing photos real time.
We do. But, you know, in the end, like, it got me connected with you. It got me connected with Brandy Riley and Casey Brown. I mean, just so many amazing bloggers that I have now formed a relationship with. And so, if anything, like, it was a fun experience. It was a good story to tell. And, you know, it made connections that I think I'll have for life now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good way to you always have these stories like, how did I meet you? And you're like, yeah. That was pretty epic.
Remember that time? Oh, goodness. Okay, so Natasha, I have just, like I said, I'm so excited to have you on and share all about not just your blog, but this incredible project of We Sow, We Grow. So without further ado, I want you to just dive in and give us the Natasha 101. So tell us who you are and how you got to where you are today.
Oh, wow. That's a lot. So I am Natasha Nicholes, and I am a proud native of Chicago, Illinois. I am a laugher and a lover, and, you know, very inquisitive. I started my blog, so the entity started with my blog, Houseful of Nicholes. And that came about because I found out that I was pregnant with twins. And blogs during that time always had like mommy to 2 boys and 1 girl in the title. And I'm lazy and cheap and didn't want to have to pay to change my domain name or title several times. So we just created an umbrella, Houseful of Nicholes. So no matter how many children I had, I wouldn't have to change anything. And that was 9 years ago. Oh, my goodness.
Wow.
9 years ago. And from starting the blog and kind of getting into the entire influencer network, I was connected with a program called the Illinois Farm Families City Moms Program. And we visited moms from the city of Chicago and the surrounding suburbs, visited farmers within Illinois, and, you know, learned all about their practices. And we were able to ask questions about things like GMO and large livestock farming and, you know, things of that nature. And that kind of sparked something within me. And from there, we started growing our own food. And I know that there are a ton of people around that grow their own vegetables, you know, in their backyards and everything. But if you know me, you know I don't do anything small when I do it. And my husband has learned that lesson for the last, I will be 39 this year. For the last 25 years, we've known each other for a quarter of a century. That I do not do things small. And that has been something that has been my personality trait for as long as I can remember. And when we started our backyard garden, that didn't stop, and I wasn't satisfied with that. I wanted to be able to feed the neighborhood. So we asked our local aldermen, and for those of you who don't live in Chicago, aldermen are people who kind of look over the different wards or neighborhoods in the city of Chicago. And we have 50 aldermen, and they allowed me to be able to use a plot of land, and that kind of grew. So we grew from 4 boxes raised beds to 42, and we've been doing it ever since 2016, May 2016. So we just got notification early last year, that we would no longer be able to farm on that land because it's been slated for development. And I didn't want to lose what we had started within the neighborhood, even though my heart and mind told me to just quit. But we had, we started something, and people started asking about it, and my husband would not let me give up on it last year. So we changed our track, and we're now looking to own the land that we will end up farming on, and then make the program a little bit bigger than what it's been. So it's a long journey that we have going on. My first thought was that $15,000 would be what I needed. Yeah, living in the city of Chicago, it's like 10 times that amount. So so we're going to keep our head down, and we're going to keep moving and, applying for grants and everything. But that's who I am. I'm a mom of 4. I have a child in college, freshman in college at Mizzou. Awesome. And then 3 little ones that I homeschool now. And I've been happily married to my husband, who is, as you can see, my also childhood sweetheart, I'm forgetting. So we got married in 2007. So 12 years we will be celebrating. So yes, for those of you who are doing the math in your head, we did have a baby while we were in college, and he was in our wedding. So yeah, there you go. You don't have to worry about that anymore.
I love you.
But we are here, and we're passionate about the urban farming journey that we're going on. But that's not the only thing. I do a lot of travel. I sew, and I look busy on the surface, but in actuality, I have a really, really good support system that helps me out, that allows me to do all of these things that I love without becoming exhausted and, kind of giving out.
That's so important, because and I love that you said that. It's like it's easy to kind of see what somebody's doing on the outside, what they're posting on social media, and just think, oh my goodness, I can't believe that, how do they do all these things and they're so busy? But then you forget, like, it really does take a village. That is the most cliche thing, but it could not be more true. And, we could not do the things that we do without a community around us. So I love that you share that, because that's important for people to know, that it's okay to ask for help. Like, it's okay.
Yes. And, with social media, everything looks so curated too, right?
Yes.
So you think, oh, here goes those parents again. They're going away for another weekend alone. Yeah, because I have a kid who's a teenager, and he's in college. So now I can go away alone. But, when you and your husband or you and your wife were newlyweds, and I had 4 kids that I couldn't leave by myself, I was in that same situation. So you have to, you kind of have to understand that everybody is they're at a different time point.
Yes.
With their lives, and you cannot compare yourselves with them. And I know we hear that all the time. For some reason, though, it's so hard for us to digest.
Yes, it really is, because you hear that phrase, like, don't compare your beginning with somebody else's middle, and that is so difficult for people. Yeah, people are like, oh, you're an overnight success, and it's like, no, there's like 10 years of work behind being that overnight success. And life is hard with young kids, and it can be busy, and you can't say yes to everything. And so it's learning how to strike that balance of when to ask for help, when to say no to things. And it is trial and error. Like, nobody gets it right the first time.
Correct. And I don't think anybody gets it right, at the end, really.
Yeah.
Unless they just learn to accept, hey, this is the life that I lived. I hope that I lived it fully. And I hope that I lived it, in a pleasing and honorable way.
Yeah.
And I know that I didn't seize every moment, but the ones that were, afforded to me, I'm hoping that I saw them and did right by them. So,
Yeah. Now, I want to obviously talk about We Sow, We Grow, but I want to back up a little bit and talk about your blog and sort of that platform that you built when you started Houseful of Nicholes. I mean, obviously, this was just kind of you didn't really know what it was going to turn into. This was just kind of an online space that you were creating. At what point did you realize that this was now a community and a platform that you were given that you felt tasked to steward well? So this was like a platform that you realized, I can use this platform not just to share my life with my child, my childhood sweetheart and life with my kids, but this is a platform I can use to impact other people. At what point did that kind of click for you?
In the end of 2017.
Yeah.
A lot of my passions, I feel honestly, and it's so weird that this even comes up. I feel honestly would not be here if my sister were still alive. And I know that people are like, wait, how does someone dying, direct that? There was a lot of stuff that I was very complacent about, when my sister was alive. And I think I took a lot of things for granted. I'm intelligent, I was on the right track. We were doing whatever. But a lot of the jobs that I had up until that point, I was 22 when she died, just weren't satisfying for me. But I worked them because that's what I was supposed to do, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And after she passed away and after I came out of my grieving funk, I realized that one of the things about my sister that I admired was the fact that she was going to do what made her happy, and what was responsible for the most part, but it had to make her happy.
Yeah.
And I started living life like that. I'm going to do what makes me happy. I'm still going to provide for my children and my family and my house. I'm still going to make sure that bills get paid and everything.
Yeah.
But if it's not making me happy, then that's not going to happen. And I started the community garden fully expecting people not to participate, and to not be interested online. Because when we share things about ourselves online and they're too happy, people find fault with that.
Yes.
Oh, here goes another person. And people kept asking me questions about things that I was growing because I was sharing about that and the process. And before long, I formed a group on Facebook so people could ask their hardcore questions there without, having to tag me on my page or on their page and I'm missing it. And that group grew beyond what I thought it would. And we've been going strong for 2.5 years now. And people are continuing to add their friends. And, that's when I knew that it was a bigger thing because people were holding me accountable for sharing something that I love and encouraging me to keep getting educated by it. So my husband and my husband's always usually an unwilling, I shouldn't say unwilling, that's not the right word. He's normally an unknowing participant in all of my shenanigans. And before he knows it, he's being called a community garden manager. And he's like, wait, what? I am? This is what we're doing? So now we're registered for a master in urban farming training program.
Wow.
And he says, wait, I registered for that? And I'm like, yeah, you did. It's we're in the class. We're in this together. And he, without his support, I wouldn't be able to do this. And I know he's tired because he works out of the house. And he works with a huge railroad corporation. So there are often days where he thinks he's going to have an 8-hour day and he ends up, having like a 16-hour day. And meanwhile, I'm having the same 16-hour day, but in a different plane than he is.
Yeah.
And, for a project to not be his, in the first place, and him to have to work on it. I know he loves me, and I know he respects the vision that I have for it. So yeah, I think late 2017 was when I realized that it was serious and that we needed to kind of expound. And then I spent all last year scared um, of what I had to do and my calling on that.
Yeah.
But what if it doesn't work? And what if nobody wants to donate any money? And what if this happens? And what if that happens? And I don't know if you saw when we did the fundraiser, I only initially asked for $750.
Yeah.
And that ballooned, and we ended up raising. We were just shy of 6,000. So we'll do one each quarter, probably, kind of like NPR does.
Yeah. Yeah. Do like a phone-a-thon. Do an old school phone-a-thon, or like when like the 700 Club is like, ooh,
Right,
it's time for the fundraising. They pulling it out.
And we might cut it a day short if people do it and donate. But it is what it is, and people donate to what they believe in, and that let me know that people believed in me, and it was very humbling, and I cried a lot during the fundraising.
Well, seeing you just really put yourself out there in a way that is, you created a space where it was okay to feel vulnerable and to be risky. And I loved how honest you were when you just shared that you were like, this was, I set my goal at $750 and God was like, nope, like I have bigger plans for you. And it was just such an encouragement to me, and I think an encouragement to others, of just going scared and being willing to step out and take a risk. And when you feel as though this is something that you're called to do, like God is going to open the door for you. He is going to provide a way. And sometimes it makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. And to outsiders, they might be like, what? That's crazy. But it is just amazing how over and over and over again you can see that when you just step out in faith and you step out and go through that door that's been opened, how often the opportunity just becomes even more than what you had originally envisioned, Yes,
that is so true. And, one of those things that I'm reminded of every night before going to bed, what is my reason? I have a whole bunch of them.
Yeah. Now, you started out with this garden just in your backyard. Did you know how to garden before this, or did you just kind of teach yourself as you went?
Of course I didn't know how to garden. This is, the longer you know me, the more you'll realize that I tend to jump feet first into things. Mm-hmm. I learned how to sew on YouTube. From YouTube videos, and my stubbornness would not allow me to give it up. And this is a true story. My husband took a class at Vogue because he wanted to make his own clothes because he does not like shopping. My husband is the baby of his family. I am the firstborn. You realize that once he went to class, an invisible challenge was thrown down, and I had to learn how to sew too. But I did not want to go to Vogue.
Yeah.
So I learned I learned through YouTube and reading sewing blogs, and now I have an Etsy shop where I make bags and everything. And I think that I do a decent job. And it was the same with gardening, where I wanted to know all the information, but I also wanted to be respectful of the people before me who did this for a living.
Yeah.
And not to come off as some know-it-all. So I listened a lot and applied a lot of things, and had the audacity to think that I could do it here in the city of Chicago. And we have been.
That's incredible. So for those that may be familiar with the city, and you don't need to give us your address, what area of Chicago are you in?
I am on the very far south side of the city. So I'm in West Pullman.
Okay.
And I used to live city center. I miss it because public transportation is a lot better there. And we moved to an area of the city that is coming up with, in their development. Mm-hmm. So A lot of things are coming, and we wanted to get in beforehand to help be a part of that developmental journey. And it's not as developers. I wish we could be, because then, we would make sure that a lot of stuff was done, like grocery stores and things like that, and that they weren't so far away. So when we moved here, we found that there were a lot of empty lots in the area, and that's kind of when the wheels started turning for us.
Yeah.
But very far south. So I am, if you are familiar with Chicago, you have to get on 57 to get to my house.
Yeah. Now, at what point did you realize, like, you had this passion to take it out of your own backyard and feed your neighborhood? And how does that work in practice? Like, what does it look like to have an urban farm and a community garden that feeds a neighborhood?
It looks messy. I'm going to let you know that right off the bat. And it looks a lot like people coming through and sitting on the outskirts of the farm and talking to me until they feel comfortable enough to come in and ask for what they want, or for me to kind of read body language and know that people may be too embarrassed or too full of pride, because that happens often too. So asking them if they've ever tried a new variety of tomato that I know typically isn't sold in grocery stores.
Yeah.
So you're not getting. Typically in a grocery store, you're probably getting beefsteak and heirloom varieties, but you're not going to have Cherokee Purple or Mr. Stripey. So with names like that, I can normally pull people into the garden, and then we start talking about ways that they can help, and through volunteering, they're able to come through and get things that they want to eat or want to try, and hopefully this year we will be offering classes on how to prepare what we grow. So it's not a community garden in the sense that people buy a plot, and only farm on that, in that raised bed. It's a full-blown community garden.
That is so cool. How did you start to, I don't know, I don't want to use the word market, but it's the only thing that can come to mind. Like, how did you get the word out to your neighborhood and to your community? Hey, we have this plot of land that we're gardening on. We want you to come and help us, and we want to provide food for the neighborhood. Like, what did that look like?
Me being chatty like I am normally. That's it. It's we live in a neighborhood that's super walkable, and a lot of people are on bikes all the time.
Yeah.
So the reason that we started it too is because we saw when we were building our home that everybody walked by and nobody spoke. It was not near what I grew up with, where we could go into our neighbors' homes and just go, because we knew everybody on our block, and we knew mostly everybody in the neighborhood, and the street behind us and the street in front of us or whatever. And it felt odd for me to be moving into a new community and no one was speaking at all. And now when we had chickens, we have to get new ones, but when we had chickens, a couple of times they got out, and people would call me or come and ring the doorbell because they knew those chickens belonged to the lady, in that particular house. And that's how relationships formed, and phone numbers passed, and now we have people calling to check on people through surgery or congratulating their children when they graduate. So it's fostering the community and the neighborhood the way that we want it to, and it's not happening fast. I mean, it's a marathon, right?
Yeah.
But it's happening, and it's making me happy.
That's amazing. And also, I just love to know that there are chickens just chilling in the south side of Chicago. Like, I love it.
There are chickens everywhere in Chicago.
I love it. That's awesome.
Chicago, Cook County is a very livestock friendly city, and a lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, I did not know that at all.
You may see goats, you'll see ducks, you can have turkeys. You cannot have cattle, obviously, because reasons.
Yeah.
You have to have enough space, obviously, for the type of livestock that you're going to keep. And because of cow manure and everything.
Yeah.
It can't produce any type of horrible smell. But rabbits, ducks, chickens, goats, all of those that their poop is a little bit less smelly
Yeah.
than cows and pigs.
Yeah.
We can have it, and the problem is on the south side of Chicago, you don't see it as often as you do on the north side, which is more affluent.
Oh, okay.
And that's a perspective I want to change as well.
I think that's incredible. And just, yeah. I mean, there's so much that I would love to say there, but I just think that it's just, I love that you have created this sense of community. I love that everybody knows you now is like, that's the lady, the house down there. She's got the chickens. Like, it's just, that's amazing. But, yeah, because I grew up in a neighborhood like that where it was like we all knew our neighbors and everybody lived in their houses for a really long time. And so it was, my parents never questioned if I went outside to go somewhere that I would be safe because I had 18 different moms looking after me because the whole neighborhood was. And that's something that I have desired for my own kids. And I mean, we all desire that for our families, to grow up in a community where we know and we love and we trust our neighbors. And what a just unique and beautiful way that you have done that in your neighborhood through an urban farm. I mean, it's incredible. So, yeah. So my next question is, obviously you got this news at the end of 2018 or sometime in 2018 that you can't farm on that land anymore because it's been slated for development. Do you know the plot of land that you're looking to own? Is it going to be that same, like, what is the vision for it now? Are you going to have to move things, or are you going to have to, what are you doing?
We do have to move things, and we have the land in our sites, and it is free land. And by free, I don't mean free from cost.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody's developing on it, and the city owns it, which means that they can totally allot it to us and sell it to us and let us develop on it. So we want to partner with a program here in Chicago called Neighbor Space, and they're a land acquisition firm, which is also a nonprofit. So they will do all of the paperwork for us to make sure that the land stays deeded to the We Sow We Grow project. And then that way we don't have to pay out of the nose for developing on the land. And then I just have to make sure that, on the back end, everything runs accordingly. So paperwork. So this is not something that, you can just kind of go la-di-da with and not do the paperwork for. Yeah. This is real business, but still nonprofit side. So, it's I think last week I wanted to quit. And I go through that cycle often where stuff happens way faster than I'm anticipating. And I'm like, I'm done. That's it. We're not doing this anymore. And my husband's like, listen, we've put like 5 million hours into this entire thing. You're going to sit down. We're going to sit down together, and we're going to get through this paperwork, because there's no way that when I get to heaven, I'm going to be like, yeah, and we just gave up on it. No, we're not doing that. So we're taking it step by step, and we have our space and our idea for what we want to do. We're working with an architectural renderer, which is the person that draws the landscape and where people are on it, and draws it the way that you envision it, so that we can present it to our aldermen for approval.
I think that is just so exciting, and I mean, I know it's so much work, obviously, but it's just, I think what a cool opportunity that maybe something at one point that when you got that news that you were going to no longer be able to use that land, while it felt like maybe there was a door closing, it was actually an opportunity for a bigger and better plan, and something bigger and better than you could have even imagined. So I think that's a cool lesson too, is like sometimes when there are setbacks, there's a pastor I listen to sometimes who likes to say sometimes the biggest setbacks are set-ups for what God is going to do even greater things in our lives. And I just...
Absolutely. And it doesn't help that I'm married to a preacher over here. We're not a pastor and a pastor's wife, but in our church he's considered a preacher. And yeah, I get these pep talks often. Um, and it's there are days where you're like, listen, Jesus, come on now.
I know.
Let's
Come on now. What you trying to
tell
do
him
to
he
me?
needs to go to the grocery store. Yeah, tell him he needs to go to the grocery store.
And I love that you've said this a couple times, and we talked about him a little bit earlier, but I love how much you and your husband work together as a team, and how encouraging you are. Like, I love your car talks that you guys do on Facebook, and because you guys are just such a great example of just a really strong marriage that, I know you guys have been through a lot, and it's just such an example of like when a husband and wife like really come together and they are a team, and it's like you guys have each other's back no matter what. And yes, he gets signed up for master's gardening classes, and you get signed up for learning how to sew, but you have each other's back all the way, and that's just it's a beautiful picture of marriage. I love it.
Thank you very much. We're Team Nichols over here.
Yes.
That's who we are, Team Nichols.
Yes, Team Nichols. Now, I remember a couple years ago, and I don't remember when exactly it was. I know you would know, but you got to go on the Harry Connick Jr. show for your garden. How did that come about?
From what I was told, the producers Googled me, and I still don't know what they Googled in order to get me. But I'm glad they did, and I'm glad whatever keywords they put into Google, led them to my blog and my little corner of the world. And he and his show were a large part of kind of getting more of the story out for me and more people excited. Because of course, when a celebrity says something, people tend to listen a little bit more.
Yeah.
So.
Was it just such a unreal opportunity? Were you just beside yourself? I mean, I remember when you shared about it on Facebook, and I set my DVR to record Harry's show.
and he's such a sweetheart.
That's awesome.
He's such a,
he's no Benedict Cumberbatch, but
no, he is not. He is not, but he is a
I know you love you some Benedict. He
was a nice addition to the entire realm.
Yeah.
He's such an advocate for farming in general, because he's from New Orleans.
Yeah.
And he was sharing with the children that on his grandparents' farm or something. I'm not sure family dynamics, but how things happen and how this kind of took him back. So it was really nice to see.
Yeah. It was so cool. I just remember watching that episode and just cheering for you, and your joy, and just seeing how humbled you were for the experience. It just really came through on the show, and I just loved seeing that feature on you. It was incredible.
Thank you very much.
Now, I know that you have talked about this before, and it actually occurred to me while we were talking that I was like, okay, I have to ask her about this, because it's a fun fact about you that some people know, some people don't. You were in the audience. You know what I'm going to say. You were in the audience when Oprah gave out the cars in the infamous "You Get a Car" and "You Get a Car" episode.
Yeah.
Okay, I have to ask.
I've had a lot of celebrity interactions, haven't I? It almost sounds like these people actually know me, and they don't. I wish they did. Stuff would happen a lot faster if they did. I was, and I got to tell her last year that she gave me a car because I did a press junket for my official job for Houseful and Nichols for A Wrinkle in Time, and we got to interview her.
Oh my goodness. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
And what did she say? So did you just say, hey, I was in the audience when I got the car?
Well, kind of. First of all, I cried.
I would have too.
Because I do believe that was like a turning point in the trajectory that my life was on. It was right after my sister passed away.
Oh.
And that was my birthday. The day that we filmed that was my birthday. It was my 24th birthday.
Wow.
And it was the first time that a friend had actually gotten me to come out of my house and do anything. So I looked horrid. It was bad. The way that I looked on camera. And I was able to thank her for, because who passes up Oprah, right?
Right.
And let her know that changed the way that I kind of viewed things. And the car came at a time where we needed it. We were carless. My son was only 4. And we were going back and forth from Wisconsin because that's where I lived for undergrad. And, we needed a car. And that came at the right time. And it was such divine intervention.
Wow.
I feel. And, it allowed me to also see that wherever I am, that's where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
So I can't feel guilty about the interactions that I have. And, with people saying things like, man, I wish I were you. No. I mean, because a lot of this is hard work.
Yeah.
It looks really great to be at a wrap-up party for Wrinkle in Time, taking photos with celebrities, but the work that came after that and writing up articles and everything, and making sure that people who need to see it are seeing it, that's hard work. And it sounds fluffy, right, to a lot of people. Oh, I could do that. Yeah, you can't.
Yeah.
Not homeschooling 3 children and then running the urban farm and then making sure that dinner and lunch and breakfast are,
right.
Because we're not separate from that. We're, our little cubicles are right inside the home base or right inside the schoolhouse, and it's something I wouldn't trade, but there are days where I'm like, oh, did I choose the wrong profession?
Yep.
Yeah. And then I have those interactions like I did with her and with Harry Connick Jr. And I know I didn't.
Yeah. Yeah. That's such a good point. And it's those moments that really help you kind of push through the other moments when you really just want to give up, because Lord knows I have them too. What did Oprah say when you told her?
First of all, I apologize for hugging her on that day, because background, I do not like huggers. I don't like random huggers. I don't like people who I don't know or who I've just met hugging me. Like, a relationship has to be formed for me. And people often just think that I just hate hugging. I don't. I have to warm up to you. And she told me that she was going to take her hug back, and she gave me a hug. And she let me know that people are destined to do great things, and if we're not, then we're not going to be where we need to be. So our destinies, let us know what we should be doing. And that sat with me. That sat with me for a while.
I love that. Now, do you still have the car? Because I think at one point you said you did.
I do. It's not, we don't drive it often. There's some work that needs to be done on it, but I still have it.
I think it's awesome. That's awesome. Because it's just, I mean, it's one of those things. It's one of the most iconic television moments ever. And to know that, like, I know somebody who was there and got a car, I'm like, that's pretty awesome. Sometimes you just don't realize, like, oh no, people got cars.
Yes. and I think they gave out a total of 250 cars.
Wow. It's just unreal. And had you been to see Oprah before, or was like, because I know like you obviously lived in Chicago, was this was your first time, and like, man, what a first time.
That was my very first time being on her show, and I attended 2 more tapings of hers before she ended the show. I attended one with Dave Ramsey.
Oh yeah.
And then I went to a show while I was pregnant with the twins and ended up in preterm labor right after the fact, and didn't let any of the producers know, because she saw a couple of us were pregnant, and obviously pregnant with twins, I look like I'm about to pop.
Yeah.
And she says, do not go into labor during the show. Don't do it. And of course she said it, and preterm started.
Oh.
So, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I refused to say anything. Everything was okay.
Yeah.
And I, kept them in full term, but it was, it's quite interesting. It's like they heard her and they were like, challenge.
Yeah. Challenge accepted. Oh my goodness. Okay, Natasha, I could just talk to you about everything and anything for hours on end. But this is the portion of the show where we transition just a little bit. And not that we haven't been talking about fun things, because we have, but it's one of my favorite parts because I just get to ask you just some fun, lighthearted, get to know you questions. Okay. So this is also the portion of the show, Natasha, where my amazing and talented executive producer husband inserts a movie clip or a sound effect of sorts to transition us, and we never know what it's going to be. So it's always just,
Oh, okay.
It's always going to be fun. All right. So, Natasha, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, everybody, listen up. Here is the deal. If your box has a key, you will be the last person today to get one of those cute little G6s. Okay? Who will it be? Are you ready? Hold on. Are you ready? JR is back in our audio booth. I want, JR, this calls for a drum roll. Cue the drum roll. All right, open your boxes. Open your boxes. 1, 2, 3. You get a call. 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 Everybody gets a call.
All right. So the first thing, and I'm putting you on the spot just a little bit here. So one of the things that you do all the time is every day, multiple times a day, sometimes you post corny jokes on Facebook, and I literally laugh out loud at them all the time. What is one of your favorite corny jokes that you tell that just cracks you up no matter what?
Oh my goodness. 19 and 20 had a fight. 21.
I love it.
My husband hates it.
I love
Every
it.
single time I tell him, he's like, would you please stop? For the love of all things holy, stop it. My mom hung up on me because of that joke.
Oh my goodness. I'm gonna tell that one to my kids and let them tell it because I think they'll think it's funny. Okay. If you could only eat one food from your garden for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Ooh, tomatoes.
Tomatoes.
All day.
Is there
all day, every day?
Any specific kind of tomato?
Between the sun sugar and the sun gold, because it's like eating candy.
I don't think I've ever had those.
You have to try them. They're really good.
Ooh, all right. Well, we're doing, my husband and I, and by my husband and I mean my husband will, and then I will stand there and go, "You did great, babe." We're doing some raised garden beds this year. I have attempted gardening for many years now, and I fail at it a lot. I really want to be good at it, and I am not. But my husband is he is determined to have an urban farm in our backyard. And so you're gonna
join our group. We'll make a gardener out of you before you know it.
Yes. And so we're doing raised garden beds this year. So maybe we'll try growing some of those tomatoes, and I'll let you know how it goes.
Okay.
All right. What cheesy song do you have completely memorized?
Oh, Men in Black.
Here come the men in black.
That's the one. And it came on the radio. What did it come on the radio for? But it came on the radio, and I did the entire rap while my husband was driving. And when it went off, he gave me a look like, "Oh my, I cannot believe you know every single word to that."
Oh, baby, just bounce with me, just bounce with me.
Will Smith is also my favorite too.
Yes, yeah. Benedict Cumberbatch and Will Smith.
Yep.
Yep. Are you excited? Are you as excited about Will Smith as the genie in Aladdin as I am?
I am, after he said he was going to be blue.
Yeah. Oh.
I was a little bit worried about the little top knot bun and, all of that. But like, we need the genie to look like a genie.
Yeah.
And he doesn't look genie enough on the cover of Entertainment Weekly.
Yeah.
And I do also love that he said he's completely nervous because he knows what a fantastic job Robin Williams did with the character.
Yeah.
And to know that he respects it in that way makes me respect him even more.
Yeah, I agree. I saw that same interview, and he just talked about how, like, at first he wanted to say no. And because he was just like, how are you going to live up to Robin Williams' performance? But yeah, so I think he'll make it his own, which is, I think, part of why I'm so excited, because he's the best. What do you think is the most unpleasant sounding word?
Do I have one? I don't think I have one. I know a lot of people hate moist, right?
Yeah. That's usually like the most common one.
Yeah, and a lot of people also hate the word juicy.
Ooh.
And someone told me that they hate the word panties as well.
Yeah,
which is
the word I hate.
Oh, you hate that one? Okay.
I hate the word panties.
Maybe it was you. I'm sorry. I didn't mean.
No. It's okay. I'm not offended by it. I just prefer not to use it personally.
There aren't
panties.
There aren't too many for me. And we'll end this, and then I'll remember, or something will come up, and I'm like, oh yeah, I can't.
Yeah, no, I love it. And you're like me too. One of the things I love and respect about you is you don't allow any cursing on your Facebook page, and I'm the same way. And so people get mad when I delete their perfectly fine comment, but if it has a curse word in it, I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Get that out of here.
Other people have boundaries, right?
Yeah.
So I'm learning my boundaries are my boundaries.
Right.
And someone says, well, I don't like language policing. I'm like, it's my page. Like, you do whatever you want to do, wherever else you want to do it at.
Right.
But on my page and in my house or in my car, you can't do that. The same with smoking or things of that nature. And I don't know. I'm not a swearer, and I've never really been one. I've used swear words before when I was in high school, and that's about it. I think I stopped probably freshman year because it just didn't feel right.
Yeah. Well, I used to be.
Not to say though that they don't go through my head. At times. Yeah,
I used to be a big, admittedly, like, and people that know me from college and the years after college, before I was walking with the Lord, there were definitely some swear words that came out of my mouth a lot. And it wasn't ever really, I think, a conscious decision for me to really stop cursing. Or at least severely cut back on it. Yes, there have been times where I've stubbed a toe and said some words I probably shouldn't have. But I think it was just kind of a gradual change for me in changing my habits. So I think it's awesome. I really respect that about you.
Well, and I have my favorite swamp donkey that I use whenever whenever I need to convey displeasure with things. And that's about it.
I love it.
But, just for me, swearing isn't for me. If it's your cup of tea, go for it. Just don't get upset if I, remove myself from the situation. That's all.
No, I think it's kind of like one of those, you know what? You do you. We're all grown-ups. We're all grown-ups here. All right, and my last question, Natasha, is what are you most grateful for today?
Oh, a warm house.
Yes.
It is currently negative 45 degrees. It feels like negative 45 in Chicago. I am grateful for a warm house and happy children who don't even understand. Well, no, they do. Yesterday, my oldest daughter was just like, yeah, I'm not going out. The wind hurt my face when I opened the door, and it shouldn't do that. So we're gonna stay right here.
We're just gonna stay right here.
Yeah.
Natasha, this has been such a joy, such a pleasure to have you on. I knew it would be such a fun conversation. And I cannot wait to see what you do with We Sow We Grow and where it goes from here. And I just know that whatever you're dreaming right now, it's going to be so much more than that in such a good way. And you're just going to bless so many people in your community and beyond. So thank you so much for everything that you do. And thank you for chatting with me today.
Thank you for inviting me. I enjoyed myself today.
Do you see what I mean as to why Natasha is legitimately one of my favorite people in the world? I love her ability to be so honest and transparent and the way that she shares her vision so clearly. She is impacting her community, her neighborhood in incredible ways, and she's really changing the face of agriculture through the work that she does. I learn so much from her regularly, and I know that you learned something too. So I would actually really love to know what you liked about this episode or something that you learned. Let me know on social media. You can find me at Still Being Molly or at Business with Purpose Podcast on Instagram or Facebook. And don't forget that hashtag Business with Purpose Podcast. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode. If you're a first-time listener, welcome. Be sure to visit the archives for past shows featuring so many incredible entrepreneurs and business owners who are quite literally changing the world with their businesses. And if you are a regular listener of the show, thank you for tuning in and week out, and thank you for your support. Be sure to head on over to iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Radio Public, wherever you listen to podcasts, and make sure you're subscribed to the show. Clicking that subscribe button helps make sure you never miss a new episode. And while you're there, would you mind taking a moment to leave a review of the show? Leaving a review helps me to know what you're liking and how the show is personally impacting you. As always, this show is edited by my amazing husband and executive producer, John Stillman, and the music is by Mark Killian of Third Wheel Media. Thank you so much for listening, and go do something good with purpose on purpose.